Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Lab.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. It is Thursday and it's been, a decent week. Very specific action in different spots, both long and short. Lots of talk, lots of opinions, but once again, the market speaks for itself. Yesterday we came in, we talked about potentially, where could we see a pullback, get some support, and we talked about just a 21-day moving average. Not a big opinion. I know a lot of guys were saying we think we're going to hit 2134, the market's done, this, that, whatever. Said let's just take a look at the 21-day. That's what held last time, and figure out if that's a good spot for some who were short to cover and some who are looking to buy a dip, who got out maybe when the 8-day failed to buy back. And then today, the strategy was, can we hold higher and see an inside day and see some movement? Well, if you go here, you'll see, oh, look at this. Okay, this is the chart that I post every day on Twitter. Okay, if you look at it, yesterday I posted this chart where I showed you how we broke the 8-day moving average but held the 21-day moving average. So we weren't sure what would happen next time. But what did we do? Broke the 8-day moving average and, oh, what a coinky dink, held the 21-day moving average. So a decent roadmap just to know about. You don't have to follow it like so close, this and that. It's not always perfect. Nothing ever is. But if you take a closer look here, this was the trend. So why not see if the trend is your friend? Haha, never heard that before. But anyway, this was the breakout above, the old highs here. Okay, and when we reclaimed the 8 and 21 day with the red dog reversal right there, and we've been above ever since. Somewhere during a trend line like this. So it all depends on how you want to look at this. Accelerated trend, quick little shake the tree, held, another accelerated trend, a little bit of a tactical 3-day pullback into support, and now we'll see whether or not we'll be at highs tomorrow or next week. But all in all, point of reference. Let's just keep looking at what our point of references. So this week we talked about the XLE a lot about energy. Seems like they want to create the most pain. So about 2-3 weeks ago, if you remember, all the media talked about oil. Oh my God, oil's in a bear market. We're going to get crushed. We're going to have more bankruptcy. There's going to be more defaults. Meanwhile, oil went from 25 to 50, 51. So pulling back to around 40 wasn't the end of the world. So we started in my note. If you don't read my note and you don't know what that is, go to the site. I write a note every day. It takes about 2 hours for me to do. I put 4 or 5 different sectors with some different tactical plays in there, and then 20 names or so that I'm looking at to figure out whether I could play them long or short, hold them for swing trades, or just create cute cash flow. So anyway, this was your XLE. People like to get an example of a red dog reversal. They don't know what that is sometimes. That's a way to play a counter trend move. So what happened here? This was the first time XLE got back to resistance, couldn't break above it, and basically lost the moving averages. So here you were at 69.82. Broke right here. If you were playing for a breakout here, didn't work, you couldn't get out of the way. So from here all the way down to bigger support, look what happened here. It broke below the prior low, which was 64.93, came back above it. That's a red dog reversal. Okay, and this time it's stuck. Okay, top third of the range, took out the high. You could have added here, and then it's traded well ever since. In my note this morning, we talked about how I was long the XLE and I thought we could see 70 plus soon. Well, nice day in the XLE and nice day in a lot of those stocks. Annabelle and I were talking about, where it can go and how it technically was acting better as it's above the 200-day moving average now. Well, here I guess is one little spot, this kind of peak, okay, which is which we could maybe even see that tomorrow, and then a little further up into the 70s. But either way, here for the dip buyers who are looking for a tactical strategy on how to get in using the red dog reversal plan versus trying to catch a falling knife, and those who like to play a breakout for momentum, there's that. So 2 different types of trade in the actual oil sector ETF versus all the other names that are in there that are probably going gangbusters, but I don't have time for that. As far as getting the wave, too much time spent on the XLE. As far as other sectors, not much going on. The Qs did hold the 8-day moving average, big deal. Okay, still hanging in trend. Okay, didn't even get to the 21 days, so that's acting well. The IBBs held the 21-day again. We talked about, can this, hold again? This was when it cleared, the downtrend we talked about right here was nice and tight, made a big move above the 200-day. Now it's trying to figure out if old, resistance here could turn into new support. So we'll see if that could continue. If that can continue, that'd be healthier for the market. There's that support. It's been bouncing off of this 288. We'll see if that continues. And then if that's the case, maybe, it gets a little bit better, moving forward. We looked at Amgen this morning. Amgen wound up not having a clean move, but still, looks okay. Some other bios were kind of in play back and forth. News came out on VRX, and that's why I told you I don't like playing this because it's a headline-driven play. A lot of guys got all crushed in this in this thing. When they thought good earnings came out, they thought it was holding in there, and then pow, and then all of a sudden Morgan Stanley said you could buy it now, and then news of some lawsuit, whatever. Still hanging above this, so I guess use that as your point of reference. But I wouldn't even trade this thing. It's just not worth your time. On the site, we talked about how GWPH might have put a short-term bottom in. Yesterday, I bought some calls. Some guys bought the stock. What does it mean by a short-term bottom to trade? Well, I'll give you a little show here, okay? It fell to resistance right there and then broke below the 8 and 21 day and broke that money raise spot. So people were like, okay, when can we find a potential bottom? A little bit of a doji, traded above this today. Some took it home long yesterday. Some waited for it to go above for an ad, and now maybe it comes up a little bit. But either way, it's a bio. What I did is I just went and bought the $90 calls for January because some data is due in September and the fall. All in all, I do believe in this company, and a lot of guys I know like it a lot. So whatever, there was a trade there. That's all it was. It was a trade. Who knows if it'll get followed through tomorrow. High beta tech is still very lethargic and not a lot of fun to trade at all. You have Amazon did a little bottom, a little trade off the lows yesterday, did nothing today. Google, same thing. Facebook, an inside day, not the end of the world, but just annoying. It's just no power. But I guess, it's August 18th. What could you really expect here? It's still fine. It's still holding the 21-day moving average. I guess if it were to take, clear this, maybe it starts acting better, but I don't know what it's going to take. Probably not, with the, Sandberg filing to sell 100,000 shares and whatever his name is from Citron saying it's a short, but I guess if something comes out, all those people, get squeezed. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. ACIA, the new issues, I have in my note like 5 different new issues that we've been tracking because that's what's been in play. So far, this one is still, in fuego. Last little pullback here, held, and then a lot of guys caught a nice long here, and now you have another doji. So I would say be flatted overnight after a big move. Not really that compelling to be long. Lots of, we started putting this on the note down here. This, the cousin, I guess you can call it, TWLO, didn't act as well. Okay, it gave you a nice trade after earnings, and now closing the lows. So tomorrow we'll see maybe we get a red dog reversal, with into the moving averages. Remember, when it's extended from the 8-day moving average, you don't buy it. You buy it on breakouts. You look for follow through day 1, day 2, day 3, which you sell. And then it broke here, and now we'll see what happens into tomorrow. Same thing with this TLND. It's done nothing, ever since that big breakout day. Wow. Things should not happen. When things shouldn't happen, you shouldn't be buying them. This was a great day. Broke out, okay, a little bit of follow through, red dog reversal, little sell setup. But then from here, if this was really any good, and wanted to be really tight, it probably shouldn't have broken that, or at least the post IPO high, which was right there, and look where it came into. So round trips mean that it wasn't ready. So anyway, I guess tomorrow you'll see what happens here. But technically, again, for something to be really good, and tight and fast, you would expect something like this, and then not really get much below this, because you don't want this powerful bar negated, but bam. So that was negated, so you have to wait. LN, we walked into a little bit of a mess with the Nikkei. All in all, I think it acted sort of well. I still have small on. What does it mean by acting well? Meaning it came in, held the 8-day, tested the post-IPO high, and now we'll see if it could continue to build and then potentially go again. I do think that this has potential, but we'll see and let it figure itself out. Last time guys did really well was right here when it cleared this spot, cleared the IPO high here, and now we'll see if it rebuilds. I'm still in BABA. BABA still looks good. It's just taking its time here. It's come a long way since we put a lot of different strategies in there. This nice base that we were eyeing before earnings wound up giving us a really nice option play. we were long the 88s and 85s. This was trade 1. Here was trade 2. And now we're trying to figure out how long is it going to take to create a nice little bull flag and give you continuation. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't. All in all, I think, you could be long it for a swing versus this spot and then just try not to do too much. At some point, if it were to clear this with authority, then it gets back in motion. It's letting the 8-day catch up, which is good. Baidu, some guys caught a quick trade. I put that back on my note to play some catch up here. And now it closed above this little spot, so you'll see tomorrow if you get some follow through. All in all, this has been a laggard type name, but it is one of the class type stocks of, or it used to be, of the Chinese ADRs, and it's back above the 200-day. So see if that continues. Netflix is friggin' frustrating, I'll tell you that much. Every time it looks good and you try and buy it, it hurts. I'm still in small. I probably shouldn't be in, but at some point I think it does get going. It's just a matter of how frustrating can it get us, or how frustrated can it get us. But I guess some kind of news, some kind of huge volume could get it going above this, but we haven't seen that yet. So at some point maybe it happens, or maybe it fails again at the downtrend, and that's that. So all in all, not a heck of a lot to do, but some things to do. It's been very specific. If you've been focusing in on the names that made us money, a month ago, high beta tech, you're probably pulling your hair out. It does seem as if it's a little frothy as far as those new issues. So make sure that you don't keep going back to the well if all of a sudden the well is dry. The money in the last week has been made in oil names and oil stocks and oil itself. If you've been in it for the last week and a half since the Red Dog reversal in oil or the XLE, congratulations. Again, it's August 18th. I know Sperling's going to be going away for 2 weeks in the Hamptons. The office is thing out, so I can just imagine what's going on everywhere. Same type of thing. People like to go to the beach, the mountains, refresh their batteries coming into Labor Day, because then all of a sudden volume increases, movement increases. So if you're going to be here, be specific, be prepared. Hopefully my note helps you. Hopefully the morning call express and this video helps you. If you want more, the full version is part of my Redler All Access, and so is the note, and that could be helpful for you for your game plan. If not, you have to connect the dots between the smaller videos and my Twitter, which sometimes is hard for me to keep updating because I just don't have enough thumbs. Oh, I did put on MBLY today. I don't love it, but it's worthy of a look, I guess. It's been consolidating for a while. You're starting to hear a lot of news about driverless cars. Again, I think Uber is going to have a fleet of them. I don't know if I would get in one, but anyway, it's getting tight, so I put on small just to keep it on the radar. Maybe it gets going again. It came out of play when they got rid of their relationship with Tesla or reduced it, so maybe that's a good thing now, considering all the noise around that. Gold, lastly, I keep, I don't have a teleprompter, so whatever comes to my head that I know people are trading, I throw in here. GLD looks as if it's going to get going again. You have this upper wedge type pattern. It's coming right into resistance. Unfortunately, a lot of the moves happen overnight, so if you're looking for this breakout back to highs here, you had to take it overnight, but lately, once it looked good, it fails, and once it looked bad, it comes up, and that's a little harder to handle, but I guess you'll see what happens. It's very tight here. The miners also, after shaking the tree yesterday, held up pretty well. This has been a very strong trend, and we'll see if it continues. Not the easiest thing to handle, but all in all, I guess the trend is your friend until it's not, and the trend has been to the upside with the 50-day holding and with it playing with the 8 and 21-day a few different times. So I guess you have a new point of reference right here to trade against, and then at some point maybe it continues, but base on base type patterns are prone to some kind of failure at some point. So just make sure you're doing it with a little less size than you did it lower in girthier spots. So tomorrow's Friday, no jobs report. Not sure what kind of day we're going to have. I know I trade out of Short Hills, so there's no video by me in the morning or on the recap, but I will post a few levels in my few different charts. Actually, no, I don't. In Short Hills, I don't do the spider chart in the morning. I do it every day, Monday through Thursday, to give you guys a roadmap of the spiders, so this way you can create a roadmap for all the other sectors that are pretty similar, and then every now and then I'll throw a chart in there that I'm focusing on that could be more than a trade. Oh, you know what, Apple. Apple I didn't touch today. Apple, I created those spreads that we were talking about. Remember that big gap up after earnings? Well, this is when I got really excited about it. Okay, it also broke the downtrend. I'm not going to go all the way back and show it. Then here, it gave us a nice trade. The first set of calls we bought right around here, the 105s, and then into this move, sold the 108s. That will expire tomorrow. So nice little trade. Buy the 105, sell the 108s, make $3 in the middle, and keep the premium, etc. So that worked. Then it wound up going to 110. So on this little pullback, I think I bought the 108s for another strike, and then up here sold the 110s. So now I'm sitting on the 105s, and I sold the 110s also there, the 108s, and sold the 110s yesterday. Bought the stock, but sold it into the close, and now it's just kind of hanging out here. So let's see if it takes a little bit of time to rebuild. It's still above the 8-day, and you have a high and a lower high, so I don't know if that's going to mean it's going to come back again and test it. But all in all, just sitting in some spreads, trading around positions, and I'm not in the stock right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And I think I said goodbye for the 4th time, so this is the 5th time, and it's a final. Have a great weekend, and I'll be in touch a little bit tomorrow, and also I'll be on the radio from Short Hills for the VTF.